What's up? What's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yen. So happy to have you here today. And today we're going to cover 10 things you need to know about adrenal fatigue. So stay tuned. Right. So the first thing that you need to know about adrenal fatigue, it's the term itself. Adrenal fatigue is oversimplified. Chris Cressy, a licensed acupuncturist over at Adapt 180, I encourage you to check him out. He coined the term HPA Axis Maladaptation, which really is more accurate in explaining adrenal fatigue. And other up-and-coming functional medicine practitioners and doctors, they use the terms such as HPA Axis Dysregulation or Dysfunction. These three terms really are more accurate in explaining what adrenal fatigue is. By the way, the H in HPA stands for hypothalamus, which is a master gland in your brain, followed by P, pituitary gland, which is in between your eyebrows, this little bean-like structure, and A stands for adrenal. So HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. As the name implies, you can imagine these three play a very close and connected relationship. Alright, the second thing that you need to know is that adrenal fatigue, or more accurately, HPA axis dysfunction, is more widely accepted in the functional medicine, or acknowledged, I would say, in the naturopathic functional medicine world. And what this really means is that if you were to go to a doctor, a regular doctor in a clinic, they may or may not have heard of adrenal fatigue. They may or may not are well versed in adrenal fatigue, and that's really because it's not taught in the medical schools. And the third thing that you need to know is that adrenal fatigue, or HPA axis dysfunction, is not exactly an endocrine illness. Well, unless of course in extreme cases such as Addison's disease or Cushing's disease or Cushing's syndrome, where it's which is a recognized illness. Otherwise, the HPA axis dysfunction, it's really not a standalone endocrine illness. And the fourth thing that you need to know is that HPA axis dysfunction is not a standalone explanation behind the symptoms of adrenal fatigue. And what this really means is that, when your HPA axis becomes dysfunctional or dysregulated or maladapted, it often has effect on the other hormonal systems, and vice versa, depending on what is the root cause that causes symptoms of adrenal fatigue in the first place. Which brings me to the fifth thing that you need to know about adrenal fatigue, or HPA axis dysfunction. And to me, this fifth thing, it's also going to be the most important, as well as the heart of this entire adrenal fatigue world. And that is, our body systems do not work in isolation. They work integratively, like a network. So to put it in simple terms, it's like this. If you are experiencing symptoms of adrenal fatigue, and if you only just focus on caring for your adrenals alone, it's not going to give you the sustainable solution or the sustainable outcome that you truly deserve and that you want. And in the case of women's endocrine health in particular, we have to look at our reproductive system, which is our sex hormones, mainly estrogen and progesterone, and to a certain extent testosterone. And we also have to look at our thyroid hormones, and as well as our stress hormones, in this case our HPA axis. So yes, these three important key endocrine systems play a huge role in managing our HPA axis health. The sixth thing that you need to know is this concept about stress versus stressors. before I go on, I want you to also try to forget to think about good and bad. I know a lot of times when we talk about health and fitness and wellness, we often hear people saying things like, this is good for you and that is bad for you. No, I want you to try to forget that for a moment and try to understand from an integrative or holistic point of view that there is no such thing as good or bad. It's not an extreme black or white binary world. So in the case of stress and stresses, we have to look at this way. Our body is adapted for stressful environment. So think about this. When you're about to go for a run, let's say an athlete is about to go for a run, they need to keep their heart rate to go up. They need the muscles to get ready to be contracting and relaxing at a higher rate to prepare for that dash. So when you're preparing for the dash, the environment, in a way, it's stressful. And if your health is optimal, your HPA axis is optimal, your adrenals will be stimulated to produce even more adrenaline to prepare the body for the work that needs to be done. And similarly, if let's say you are in a dark alley and you suspect or you suddenly feel there is a robber or someone that you don't feel safe, your heart rate goes up, you start to perspire, and you tend to feel that fight or flight kind of approach. You're ready to fly, you're ready to run, because you sense danger. So in that sense, it's not stress. In this case, is not a bad thing. It is required for the body to understand what's going on, to prepare itself to run, to escape, or to do what is needed. Now, the problem comes with this, and that's the thing that you need to know, is that when the stresses are really things that produces the stressful environment, right? When the stresses are persistent, your adrenals become overstimulated, and something else got to give in the entire network of your endocrine system. So remember this, there's no such thing as good or bad stress. The only thing here is about how persistent the stresses are. By the way, there are typically 4 kinds of stress. You have the perceived stress, meaning you imagine or you think that you are threatened, or your environment, your social environment, or your emotional health, it's feeling threatened. You have also your circadian disruption. Typically, people who work in shift work, or if you are traveling a lot and you're suffering from jet lag. And the third kind of stress is when you have inflammation, underlying health issues, and your body is highly inflamed. Your body is actually undergoing lots of stress as well. And the last thing is blood sugar dysregulation. Usually if you don't eat the right kind of food, or your meals are very spaced far apart for a prolonged period of time. So we are looking at persistency in your stresses. Alright, so that's the 6th thing. The 7th thing that you need to know about adrenal fatigue or HPA axis dysfunction is that every case is actually highly unique. So what this means is, really, if I have found a program or a lifestyle system that works very well for me in managing my HPA axis, or allowing my HPA axis to function optimally, it may not necessarily mean that that program or that lifestyle works best for you, because your environment is very different. Your responsibilities are also very different. Your body is very different from my body. Your underlying medical history is also very, very different. But, however, we can adopt the best practices from every case that we learn and adapt it for your case. And that's the beautiful thing about the body, really, and about this whole concept about integrative way of living. It builds resilience in the women's body. That is one key concept, that really you need to drill in you. And really, most of the time, that's it also works with our physical body, meaning to say that sometimes if you feel chronic pain, chronic back pain, it's never about the pain, the area of the pain that you feel, but something else along the body posture or the muscular or the muscles or the scalp or your or your ligaments and tissues that are not functioning optimally. And the eighth thing that you need to know is that because it's not widely accepted or acknowledged in the mainstream medicine, the diagnosis is often only in this case can be we can get a clearer picture of our HPA axis diagnosis or health via 3 tests. One is through blood test if your doctor knows exactly what to order for, or the salivary cortisol over a 24-hour period, and the last one, which is called the Dutch hormonal test, the Dutch test. I've actually shared my personal experience and my results from my Dutch test in a previous video. And the Dutch test basically means dried urine testing comprehensive hormones. It's probably one of the gold standard to test for key hormones as well as the metabolites. Metabolites are the product of metabolism basically, and your cortisols and so on and so forth. And the ninth thing that you need to know is that technically we do not cure adrenal fatigue. That's not really an accurate term to use. Instead, we say we build resilience to manage or to recover from adrenal fatigue. Remember the 6th point where I talk about stress versus stressors and how the role of stress is for our body? So yes, we need to build resilience in our body in order to function optimally against changes in our environment. And of course, it stands to say that the more resilient your body is, the better you are, or the better the body is in combating against changes in our environment, aka stress. How are we going to build resilience, or how are we going to recover from symptoms? Typically, it's about changes in lifestyle, improving good habits, having good nutrition, learning how to manage your stress, having really good sleep habits as well, and supplements or adaptogens to manage it. And the last thing that you need to know about adrenal fatigue or HPA axis dysfunction is that it is still a very nascent area in the whole vast and complex health field. Lots of research is still needed, and especially in the different ethnic groups around the world. There's still not enough research to allow all of us to understand more about how the adrenal fatigue is, and most of all, the best strategy to work for it. Alright, so these are the 10 things that you need to know about adrenal fatigue. I hope you enjoyed today's informative and educational video. I hope that it really helps you to understand about this complex world of health, especially with energy and adrenal health. Please stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. I hope to see you all really soon in the next video. And remember to keep breathing. For you are a beacon of calmness and peace. I love you guys.